Do you shoot every image wide open? Focus so thin it should have its own diet named after it. Bokeh so butter it should be on a biscuit. If so, maybe this video is for you. Don't get me wrong, I love to shoot wide open at times as well. Do I find that it's even necessary at times to shoot wide open? Absolutely. Sometimes we need to isolate a subject. Sometimes we're working in an environment where the background is busy or unattractive or unpleasing to the eye. So sometimes we will use those larger apertures or compression or depth between subject and background to create that bokeh and that blurriness and eliminate all distractions. And larger apertures is one easy way to do that. I also find myself shooting wide open primarily when I have a singular subject. Senior portraits, for example. When I'm only working with one person, I really want to bring them forward and make it about them and tell their story. So in those situations, I like to shoot wide open to create some depth and drama as well. But one thing I have noticed, the way that I like to shoot and the images that I prefer are more dramatic and more detailed. And to do that, shooting wide open and creating that light, an airy, open, blurry background makes those images less dramatic. So if you're into moody photography or depth, pay attention. We're getting there. I'll often find myself at weddings as well, shooting wide open in certain situations, not always. Never the ceremony. I like to capture that in full detail as much as possible, but there are times when I'm shooting details where I really want to isolate the rings or a gift or a watch or something that's special, something borrowed, if you will, on that day. Or if it's a certain moment that's very intimate and something I can't replicate or something I can't duplicate. It's their wedding day. It's happening in front of me. Sometimes I'll flip over to shoot wide open and create some of that depth and that magic and foreground even, which I really, really enjoy in my work, just to create something different and something special. But does that mean we always have to shoot wide open? Absolutely not. Shooting and creating these bokeh-rich images are a practice used both by photographers and videographers, and for different types of situations. Certain lenses can stop down to 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, thus letting in more light, or even some of these new 0.095 lenses, these bokeh-licious bokeh monster lenses, which are interesting. Absolutely, very interesting. But a little bit of a specialty lens as well, in my opinion. So with those larger apertures, letting in all that extra light also comes with extra cost and extra weight. To create lenses that can do those things, the glass that they choose is typically different, it's typically better, and the lenses are typically larger overall and more expensive to create because of the coating on it, because you're letting in more light, so there's different coating to prevent flaring and ghosting and chromatic aberration, typically speaking. So if lenses that shoot these larger apertures are more expensive, made better optically, then why do we see professionals shooting apertures other than wide open ever, right? Like if they're made to do that, if that's what their job is, why not just open it up and just shoot everything wide open, right? The first reason is just that the images are better from the better quality lenses. I'm actually one of those people who come from the camp of lenses first, camera body second. So if you invest in lenses first, you'll be set up longer in the future. Camera bodies are going to keep changing. Lenses, if you invest in good glass, will last you much, much longer. And another reason is, like, yeah, they could save money if they bought cheaper lenses and shot at smaller apertures, 2.8, f4 even, instead, and have less to carry. But at the same time, we all get in those situations where we need that extra stop of light, right? We need more light, whether it's a reception or we've walked off into the woods into a dark spot and we just need something without cranking our ISO up or dropping our shutter speed so low that we're getting a lot of motion blur and a lot of handshake. Luckily for me, my Leica SL2S is really, really good in low light, up to 50,000 ISO. So one of my favorite lenses to shoot on this camera is Lumix's 24-105 f4. It has macro-like capability at 105. The compression is super, super flattering, and it gets me a lot of range, and I can do a lot with that one lens. I have 3-4 lenses in that one lens, which makes my life super easy and lets me worry about composition over equipment, which is super nice for me. That doesn't work for everybody. Some of the cameras just can't function in low light at that capacity, and sometimes that lower light is an absolute must. So I've said all of that, and it sounds like I'm trying to convince you to shoot everything wide open, but it's actually the contrary. I'm here today to discuss the possibility, the option of stopping down and trying something new. Right, as of making this, it's December. I think if you're like me, the weather's not as nice now. The time change, which I hate, means that I don't have afternoons like I used to work outside, which is my preference. So I find myself with more time to read and to study and to try new things. So I encourage you possibly to go out, take a couple of images the way you normally would, wide open, if that's your thing. But then before you leave the scene, stop down, make the adjustments to create similar lighting, but a smaller aperture, edit them up, and then compare the two. Spend some time literally comparing the two, and deciding what the similarities are, what the differences are, what you like or dislike about each. And you might find that there's more of a middle ground for you. Maybe you really love shooting your f3.2 because you still get some depth of field, some bokeh, but you're also getting a lot of that detail back. Or maybe wide open is the only way for you, and that's fine. This is not me coming on here to judge or to critique. I'm just here to hopefully inspire a new way of thinking, especially as we're rolling off to the end of the year. Like, let's be better together. Let's get out, create more stuff. Let's make stuff that we're proud of, and let's make stuff we've never made before. So, challenge. If you were to pause this video right now and pull up 3 of your favorite photographers and make a short list of what you like about them, that is the same. So what's similar about these 3 people, their work that you really enjoy? Is it the colors? Is it the location? Is it the depth, the bokeh? Or is it the way they edit, the way the lighting, like, I think if we spent more time really looking at the work deeply, we would see things that we normally wouldn't, as opposed to like scroll, double tap, as Instagram and Threads and all the things have us do. Like, I encourage you to take a deep breath, maybe go to their website. When's the last time you went to your favorite photographer's website? Right? Like, we don't do it enough. But some of my favorite photographers on Instagram, JK Wanders, Run with Drake, Short Stash, they're very good at using these smaller apertures to include the entire scene to tell a fuller story. Now, that's not to say that I don't love work by other photographers that are shooting wide open all the time or as time needs it. Of course I do. But those are just 3 examples of some of my favorites where they're not afraid to stop down and to like really set a scene, for lack of a better word. Another thing that I'm a huge fan of is off-camera flash, and photographers that are really, really good with off-camera flash typically aren't shooting wide open, and some do, and some use high-speed sync, and so you get the flash and the blurry background, and that's interesting, agreed. But what's more interesting to me is like when there's an entire scene in focus, but everything's lit well and staged properly, and depth is calculated. People like Sels Chong, people like Nathan Elson, people like Norman Woe are all good examples. Joey Lawrence, of people who like really dissect a photograph before they take it. And I love the detail, the time that they spend to create their work in that fashion. It's mind-blowing. Sels Chong is really next level. Their team, just, if you've never seen it, I highly, highly recommend it. I'll drop some links to all these people I'm talking about and below, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about and what I'm drawn to. And another example is like, do you love film photography, street photography, landscape photography, product photography, architecture, magazine covers? Typically, none of these things are shot wide open. on average. I'm not saying that they're not ever. Obviously, like, there's some people who shoot film photography wide open and it is stunning. But it's film, so like we tend to like give ourselves a little, you know, little space for error in focusing, because a lot of times it's manual focus. Typically, all of those genres, all of those subject matters are shot at lower apertures, f8, f11, street photography all day, f8, f11, f16. And like, I think when you can use those apertures, but then tell the story, I think it's different. I think it's harder. I know it's harder to use those smaller apertures and create a scene that's aesthetically pleasing, that's not distracting, that's not overwhelming. So that's what my goals are for 2024. I want to shoot more flash. I want to shoot more stuff wide open, but I also want to shoot a lot more stuff stop down. I want to shoot a lot of stuff with my Hasselblad at f8, f11, but really dialing in the lighting, maybe bringing in more lighting. And I'm hoping, above all else, if you step to the end of this, that you're encouraged to just try something new. Like I mentioned earlier, just be better. Learn, grow, create the stuff you're proud of. Forget the numbers, forget the masses. Make the stuff you want to make. Until then, later.